All right. This meeting is called to order. This meeting is being held in the council chambers, which are open for public attendance and participation. The meeting will also be live streamed for public viewing, but not participation at the link identified in the agenda. Emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting were distributed to the city council prior to tonight's meeting. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw.
Here.
Vice Mayor Boomgarden.
Here.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Kirchner.
Here.
Councilmember Pasquale.
Here.
Thank you. And boy, this is going to be one of those nights I miss Shannon. So we will be going into closed session. We have 3 items for closed session tonight. Conference with real property negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8, property APN 59010-119, approximately 2 acres generally located at the northwest corner of Poole Boulevard and Civic Center Field, Yuba City, California 95993. Negotiator Diana Langley, City Manager. Negotiating parties unknown. Under negotiation is price and terms of payment. Item B, confer with real property negotiator, Government Code Section 54956.8, property APN 52380-025, located at 433 Plumas Boulevard, Yuba City, California, APN 5322030 and APN 53194-013, located at the intersection of Main Street, Plumas Street, and Percy Avenue, Yuba City, California. Negotiator Diana Langley, City Manager, Executive Director. Negotiating parties to be determined under negotiation whether to sell the properties, and if so, the price and terms of payment. Item C, public employee appointment, employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, title City Manager. Do we have any comments from the public before we go into closed session? Hearing none, we will move into closed session. All right, everyone is here. We'll call this meeting back to order. And this meeting is being held in the council chambers tonight, where we're open for public attendance and participation. The meeting will also be live streamed for public viewing, but not for participation at the link identified in the agenda. Emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours prior to tonight's meeting were distributed to the city council. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw.
Here.
Vice Mayor Boomgarden.
Here.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Kirchner.
Here.
Councilmember Pasquale.
Here.
Thank you. If you will please rise, our invocation tonight will be given by Pastor Bob Fischetti, and that will be immediately followed by the pledge given by our city clerk, Sierra Wakefield.
I'm always thankful for the opportunity to pray for the leadership. Scripture says that when you pray for leadership, you end up with peace and prosperity. I'm very grateful for the decisions that have been made over and over again here and with all those that are in government. So I want to pray that again, with your permission, that wisdom would encompass every decision that's made in this room. So Father, I thank you for your faithfulness, how you continue to guide and sweep your hand over us. Cause us to have understanding where we didn't have it, and wisdom where we're not able to walk in it until you guide us. I ask for a blessing upon everyone in this whole community, but that every decision made has your thumbprint on it. And I thank you for it. Amen.
You may be seated. Okay. Mr. Linden, would you report out from any actions taken in closed session tonight, sir?
Thank you, Mayor Shaw. We have no reportable items in closed session.
Thank you, sir. In light of our closed session this evening, we're going to have a few additional comments and in regards to agenda item C, and I'd like to have Ms. Langley have the floor.
Thank you. So agenda item C is public employee appointment/employment for the city manager. So I have let council know that I am not renewing my contract at the end of this year, which expires December 10th, 2025. And so as we go down this process of hiring a new city manager, which takes several months, I just want to say that Yuba City is a great organization. I have been here for over 28 years, and this community is awesome. The staff is absolutely amazing. You cannot ask for a better staff. Council is great to work with, and I look forward to continuing the process to hire the next city manager. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Langley. And on behalf of the council, looking forward to every minute of every hour that we have left with you, because you are an incredible city manager. And because tonight's we're suddenly done. We got a lot more work to do, and I know you're committed just as we are in this journey. It's really bittersweet. And but I remember when the vice mayor and myself was talking to you about taking this position, we knew that this day would very possibly come. And I'm happy for your retirement that you're looking at the end of the year, and doing what you want to do with your family. But I'm also it's a little bitter because we're going to lose our top executive, who I think is pretty incredible. So thank you, and let's just keep working away. So, all right. Is there any agenda modifications by the council tonight? Hearing none, we will move on to our ceremonial presentations. And we have the Beale Air Force Base Air Show. And I would like to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Gorman to come to the podium and share some information about the much awaited air show that we're going to get this year. Right, sir?
Better. We haven't had one since 2018, so we are working really hard to that. So we just wanted to present a couple bits of information about what's happening and how it's going to impact the local community. So it's going to be happening June 7th and 8th, like I talked about it a couple days prior. We'll be leading up to it and having some activity out here. But we're looking to showcase all of the Air Force's airman, air power, and our capabilities and mission. So that's what we're looking to do. So it's going to be really cool. It's going to be an awesome family event as well. And right now we have the Thunderbirds committed, which is the Air Force's the world's premier aerial demonstration team. Also, the U-2 Dragon Lake will be flying. Probably its last military air show. We're not sure yet, but potentially there. We're going to have lots of civilian acts and displays. We're still working on booking everyone out, but we have a C-17 that's going to be flying, most likely an F-18, potentially an F-35. So lots of really cool military airplanes, as well as lots of civilian air acts as well. And we also have a really, really awesome STEM area that's going to be great for the family as well. So lots of really cool kids activities. We're working on the mini jets, so you can actually, they're little mini airplanes. They don't fly, but you can drive them around, and they have little jet engines in them, and we have a little track set up for that. So we're working on that. We also have a F-18 cockpit that you can go take a picture in there with your family. And so lots of really, really cool stuff for the kids. That's going to be sure to have. We're going to have lots of stack displays too. So as we're working through those, everything from warbirds from World War II, some foreign military aircraft, all the way up to our most modern aircraft. Just for the local community and for anyone that does fly around here, starting on June 4th, we're going to be putting additional temporary flight restrictions. So what that means is that we're going to kind of block some of the airspace off. That's because the Thunderbirds will be out here practicing, and then on Friday we'll also be doing some more flying. So you can expect some low-flying aircraft, probably not this far out, but within 5 miles of Beale, you'll see more airplanes flying around that might be a little bit noisier. June 6th, which is the Friday part of the air show, we're going to have a STEM day. So we're inviting everyone to come out there. I know it probably does conflict with some graduation things like that, but we will be inviting anyone that wants to come out there to do a specific STEM activities. And then the main event is June 7th and 8th. I would expect increased traffic flow from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we have hired a traffic consultant to help flow both not only on base but off base as well. So we'll be working with local law enforcement to make sure that we minimize the impact to the community. We are looking to include all the local community folks in to make positive impact to the community. The air show is for you. It's for a open house, so you can kind of see what we do. I know we have our gates locked every day, so kind of like Frozen, we're going to open up our gates for the weekend, and you can see what we do. That's what we're looking to do. But we want to make sure that there's positive impacts all around. We're working with the Beale Military Liaison Committee, Janie and Sammy over there, and so we're licensing part of our ramp out to them during the air show, and that allows us to basically be a lot more flexible in how we allow people to participate in the air show. So they're going to be doing that. Like we said, we had talked about STEM Day on June 6th, and in late March we're conducting a mass casualty exercise. So that's going to include a lot of the surrounding community, and I know our Inspector General and our Civil Engineering Squadron is working through that with Rideout and all the other local hospitals and other law enforcement agencies and first responders to be able to be prepared to respond to some unfortunate event. Okay. So you can support. The biggest way to do that is to attend the air show. We love that. It is free admission, and we're not charging for that. And then you can also sponsor, volunteer, become a vendor. So there's lots of opportunities there. I would point you to Sammy and Janie if you want to do some of those other things. But if you have questions, you can contact me. I'm the air show director. Miss Emily Rary is right there. She's our community engagement, works community engagement for the wing. And then we have Miss Amy Weaver for support, and the BMLC for Janie and Sammy. Any questions for me? Our website is about to be launched. We're a little late on that, but we've been working through some legal issues.
Thank you, sir. Any questions at this point from the council? Okay, I would have one or two questions. I'm not sure if it's yourself, but to Janie or Sammy, if someone wants to become a sponsor or a community partner in this, do you have any information yet? And if you do, feel free to come on over to the podium and let us know how that word can get out to our community.
Thank you, Mayor, for the question. Yes, we would love to have as much support as we can via attending to sponsorships. And if you will go to BealeAirShow.com after tomorrow, there will be a list of sponsorship opportunities, naming opportunities. There will be some premium experiences. Everything is free. To get to Beale to see the air show, it's awesome. It's, Beale's focus is making sure that the regional community has that opportunity to get out to Beale. But in addition to the free parking and the attendance, general admission attendance, there are some experiences that if you want to spoil yourself a little bit, there is that availability. So things that that are available at each level.
After tomorrow.
Thanks.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I do have a quick question. Day of, will the North Beale gate be open? North Beale Road gate be open? Main gate.
So the gates we'll be using for air show traffic are going to be the Doolittle gate, the Schneider gate, and the Wheatland gate. So it'll be air show traffic.
Schneider's the main one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
The only thing I would say, if you are, sorry, that's a good point. I didn't put it in here. If you are military and you decide to go shopping to the BX or commissary, it will be open. I discourage you from doing that on that weekend. But if you need to do that, you can access the base not from the airshow side to the rest of the base, because the base is going to be kind of blocked off to the general public up in the BX area. But that's all going to be accessible through the Vassar Lake Gate. Thank you. The housing gate, basically.
All right. If I see no other questions from up here, Colonel, thank you for coming today and letting us know. Janie, Sammy, Emily, thank you guys as well. Looking forward to it. I enjoyed the one in 2018. And I actually just kind of looked over towards the right of the screen there. And it's not just an air show, is it, sir? It's an air and space expo. I was at the 7 Swiss. So.
Okay, awesome. Yes, so they will be they think they will have a display there. So yes, it should be awesome. We should be showcasing all of our airmen's mission there. There's a lot of cool missions on base that don't involve actual flying. So we'll be showing that as well.
All righty.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mayor.
Looking forward to it. All right. Let's move on to the next one, which is Officer Scott Hansen. You're retiring, I hear. There you are. So, all right, if you'd like to come on down and join us up front, that would be great. Exactly. I don't want to hand stuff to you. You're in your bad hand. So this is quite an accomplishment. It's been a long time coming, and again, it's one of those bittersweet things. On behalf of the councils, we start, thank you for all the years of service. I'm going to read your proclamation here in a second, but reading through it, I will tell you, you've had a very long career. You've done some incredible things, and thank you for your service on behalf of the council. So we're going to present him tonight with a proclamation. It says, whereas Scott Hansen was hired as a reserve police officer in the city on February 9th, 1991. You held the positions of reserve police officer, police recruit, and police officer for Yuba City. Officer Hansen played a pivotal role as a hostage negotiator during the Big Five department store incident on August 5th, 2012. Where his calm demeanor, exceptional communication skills, and commitment to de-escalation were instrumental in resolving a tense and potentially dangerous situation, ensuring the safety of all involved. Scott contributed to the progress and the modernization of the police department by actively participating in the redesign of the department's patrol fleet in 2017, which included the successful introduction of the police Chevy Tahoe, which I know all of these gentlemen up here appreciate. You took an oath when you were hired to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And you've never broke that, and you've done that very well, sir. So you've kept the faith with the public and so honorably served for more than 32 years. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Dave Shaw, the mayor of the city of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire city council and the citizens we serve, do hereby congratulate Officer Scott Hansen on the occasion of his honorable retirement. We wish you the very best in the future. Done this day, January 21st, 2025. Give him a hand.
No.
No?
No. I'll keep it brief. I know Brian likes to talk a lot. It's four chiefs, fresh out of the Army. It's been a wonderful ride. The city of Yuba City has been amazing. I can't tell you how awesome the people are at the police department, and I've had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We're not done yet. Tasha. Sorry, I had to look. I saw your face, but I had to look. We've got some more things. We've got help.
And I'm down to one.
Well, I was just gonna, do you mind holding this? Or actually, I can ask you since you have a mic. And, I'm gonna have it, are you guys, am I not loud enough? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that's true. I was gonna ask though, thank you. Did this happen because they were strong-arming you because you can't leave? Is that how this happened? No.
This was private.
Okay, I just needed to make sure because I was going to say otherwise we could talk later. No, my name is Tasha Weaver. I'm with Senator Megan Daly's office, and it is an honor and a privilege to be here tonight in honor of you and your retirement. On behalf of the senator and the assembly member and the congressman, we would love to thank you so much for the many years of service you provided to not only the city of Yuba City or well as our country. So thank you, and please enjoy your retirement, heal quickly, so then you can enjoy it. And congratulations. Thank you. And I was going to say thank you. So. We have here, this one here is, am I still here? Okay. So this one here is on behalf of Congresswoman Malfa's office. And then here is our resolution, joint resolution from Assemblyman Gallagher's office, as well as Senator Megan Daly's office. So I do have some really nice, a box that you can put this back into to help protect it, as well as make it hopefully easier. Thank you. Oh, yes. Oh, there we go. That makes
Well, actually, I'm going to ask these fine gentlemen and ladies up here in blue to come down for our traditional photo. And if you guys would be so kind to help him hold this while the council goes and stands behind. So. A round of applause. She's got you taken care of. Thank you, sir. Start with this one. There we go. What's underneath? Oh, that's just the paper. Got it. Okay. All right. Chief Baker, would you join us down front, sir? Strange to see you down here retired, right? You never know. Really going back to, what I said about Scott, I've known you a long time and I read this proclamation and I look at the things, and on behalf of the council, thank you so much for your dedication and hard work to the city. And when you go through a career like yours, to start as a cadet, if I'm correct, and work your way all the way to be the top law enforcement officer in a city says a lot about someone's career. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much. And I'll tell you what the proclamation says here. Whereas Brian Baker began his career with the Yuba City Police Department as a cadet in 1994, and he was hired as a reserve police officer on September 27, 1997. He held the position of police officer, police sergeant, police lieutenant, police commander, and ultimately police chief. His service included several auxiliary assignments, including cadet advisor, background investigator, detective, patrol sergeant, investigation sergeant, and traffic sergeant. He has been recognized with numerous awards, including 6 Chiefs Unit of the Year awards, 4 Police Unit Commendation Ribbons, the Police Individual Commendation Ribbon, the Officer of the Year Award, the Distinguished Service Medal, and the Meritorious Service Medal. Brian received a Master's of Science in Emergency Services Administration from California State University, Long Beach, and completed the coveted FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. I said that correct, right? All right. Brian has demonstrated a commitment to building strong relationships within the community, as evidenced by his dedication to volunteering his time to a variety of area charitable causes. Brian took an oath which he has never broken, which was preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And you kept the faith with the public, and after 30 years, you are so honorably retiring. We want to thank you. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dave Shaw, did I get demoted? So, I, Dave Shaw, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council and citizens we serve, do hereby congratulate Chief Brian Baker on the occasion of his honorable retirement. We wish you the very best in your future.
So I'd like to talk about as much as Scott likes to talk in public. All I can say is thank you. Thank you to the folks at the police department that I've worked with throughout the years. I've learned a lot of cool things from a lot of cool people. And so I grew up there. I started there when I was a 17-year-old kid, not knowing what I was going to do in life. And I blinked a couple times and here we are. So thank you to the city staff, across every department. I've forged a lot of relationships with people at every level within the organization. And the city, I think a lot of people in the community take things for granted, but this city, they kick ass. They do a lot of cool things with very limited resources, and do a lot of things that would never happen anywhere else. So, to folks in the community, when you see those guys out there at the parks mowing the lawns, tell them thank you. When you see these men and women back here in a restaurant, tell them thank you. The fire guys do outstanding work with the limited resources that they have. But this is a great place to work. It's a great city. I'm not going anywhere, so hope to see all of you out and about in the community, and thank you again.
Here she comes.
Well, it is a pleasure to go ahead and as well be here and to read your guys' your proclamations that they went ahead and sent to our offices. It was phenomenal just to go ahead and know that we have individuals such as yourselves in our community. It sounds like you are a man that can probably do anything, from being able to go from one task to another, from transitioning from one department to another. You have mastered it all, it sounds like. So thank you very, very much for providing this service to our community. And I hope that you get to enjoy your retirement. Make sure to turn off your cell phone on Monday, because otherwise they're probably going to call you.
I deleted the Microsoft Outlook app. If anybody has that opportunity, I highly recommend it.
But on behalf of the Senator, as well as Congressman LaMalfa's office and Assemblyman Gallagher's office, we'd like to thank you and congratulate you on your 30 years. And thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
And following suit, if we could have you guys all come back down, we will go to the back again.
Okay, I'll put them in.
Chief, don't go anywhere, there's one more. It happens when I don't follow my script, but on behalf of the DBA, we've got Sandy Drown.
All right, just to make this longer because you had a long career. So I'm going to read this. In recognition of service awarded to Chief Brian Baker for your unwavering dedication and exceptional support of the Yuba City Downtown Business Association. Your leadership and commitment has been greatly contributed to the safety and vibrancy of our community. Thank you for your tireless efforts in fostering, collaborating, and ensuring a thriving downtown to all. With gratitude, the Yuba City Downtown Business Association. Yeah.
Our next item on tonight's agenda is our quarterly development public works update presented by Ashley Potočnik. Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. It's great to be here tonight. It's hard to follow that. That was a great production. But I'm going to just briefly give an update. We do quarterly updates, so that's every 3 months. And this update is for the last quarter of 2024. It's just kind of outlining some of the exciting projects that have happened in Public Works and Development Services. And I did want to note that we have some printed copies. I think the printed copies went quickly, but if you'd like a printed copy, contact me. I'll get you a printed copy. But you can also scan the QR code here if you just want to follow along on your phone. That's also an option. So these updates go through economic development, housing, building, planning, public works, and code enforcement, which are some of the departments in development services and public works. And these updates are a key component of our You Can with Yuba City initiative, which is kind of like the umbrella that this falls under. So to start, I wanted to just make sure that we are all kind of on the same page regarding definitions. Economic development can go by a lot of definitions, and so for this presentation and for the economic development kind of initiatives in Yuba City, essentially it's the process of improving the economic well-being and the quality of life of our community. And generally, economic development includes a few categories, including strategic planning, business retention and expansion, attraction and marketing, workforce and business development, and the community engagement. Economic development is an investment by communities to build a better community. So this graphic is prepared by the California Association of Local Economic Developers and kind of displays how economic development works, with economic developers working with businesses, and then those businesses through taxes and whatnot feeding into community benefits such as parks and infrastructure, and that cycle. As I mentioned, the You Can with Yuba City initiative is part of our economic development program, and a big piece of You Can with Yuba City is connecting businesses and developers with free resources that exist to help businesses thrive. There's a lot of resources out there. I feel like every day I'm learning of a new one, and it's difficult for a new business owner or an existing business owner. I just met with one a couple weeks ago, and he's been in business years and had no idea about these free resources that are available. One of which is our monthly office hours with the Small Business Development Center out of Sacramento. And then we also do events in the community called Shop Talk. So there's several resources. If anyone has questions, that's what I'm here to do, is answer your questions. So give me a call and we can get you in touch with the right people. So now I'll dig into the actual physical updates and things that are going on. One big one is park improvements. Here is a picture of the Bogue Road Park playground that was installed in the last quarter of 2024, and Patriot Park is scheduled to be updated this year. Another major development initiative is the Community Development Block Grant. So this is federal funding that's available for things such as housing, infrastructure, and other public services. Because it's federal dollars, there are some eligibility requirements involved, but applications are coming available very soon, and there is a meeting with our CDBG staff member who's a pro in those eligibility requirements. So you can find out more at yubacity.net/CDBG, or once again, give me a call. I'll get you in touch with the right person. In regards to housing development, we have a lot going on. This map here, it may be hard to see on this screen, but just, give me a call. I'll get you a print copy. It shows all of the housing development happening either under construction right now in Yuba City, or approved, or in the process of being approved. So overall, we have over 2,000 units in the pipeline right now. This map shows there is a pretty heavy quadrant in the Terra Buena area of different housing developments, but it's spread out throughout the community. And we had some really exciting numbers in our last quarter of 2024. Our single-family home permits increased by over 170% last year. This is a big increase. We're used to around 30 30 permits per year, and last year we almost hit 100. So that's a really great trajectory. And with all of those housing projects approved and in the pipeline, I expect it to continue at that rate. In our commercial development, we did have several exciting projects such as the Raising Cane's, Dutch Brothers. Ampla Health is not open from my understanding, but they're getting closer and closer. And we had a total of 2,300 building permits issued in 2024. In regards to planning, we do have some exciting stuff that you're going to hear about more tonight. I think Doug Libby is going to talk to you about our general plan. But essentially, the general plan is the framework for how our city is built out, land use, et cetera. And right now, the planning department is working on an update to that. So you'll hear more later. This is just a little teaser. Other entitlements that are currently under review by the planning department. So what an entitlement means, this is kind of the pre-approval in order to apply for a building permit. One is Dean Ranch, which is a large-scale senior housing development. It's over 350 units and ranges from senior housing, independent senior housing, and senior housing that's more assisted and skilled nursing. And then the Feather River Mills development is the location just north of the Holiday Inn. There is a proposal currently under review for additional commercial development there, including a couple drive-throughs and a fuel station. Some entitlements that were recently approved, the Sutter County Superintendent of School Training Center, which I think council is pretty aware of. We had a groundbreaking there, or the school district did a couple months ago. As well as Brownstone Estates, which is a single-family housing project south of the Hansen Ranch subdivision along North Calusa Frontage Road. Another exciting thing to come out of the last quarter of 2024 was some federal grant money that was received by Development Services and Public Works in the tune of $750,000. This is not small money, and the scope of the projects that this funding will be used for is a State Route 20 bike ped crossing feasibility study, as well as objective design standards and an update to our Central City specific plan. Public Works is hard at work at some very exciting infrastructure projects. Infrastructure is the stuff we don't see, so maybe it doesn't seem that important. But this stuff matters in regards to economic development and getting things built. One project that is currently underway is the Bogue Road wastewater extension. Bids were received as of last quarter, and construction is expected this spring. That's a large wastewater project in Bogue Road. And then the Public Works Department also installed a new well. I'm not that great at infrastructure, but this new well improves our drought resiliency by 10%. So it's a really big deal when we're looking at being resilient when droughts come in the summer. The update also goes into a bit of a public education piece regarding how our Public Works Department responds to storms and winter storms. So I won't really go into it. You can read more about it if you're interested. But staff is always working to be prepared for storms before, during, and after. And there's also sandbags available if the community member is in need of sandbags. We do have those available. So just FYI. Our code enforcement is also, they have been working very hard. In 2024, they implemented a new special assessment, which adds citations to the property taxes. So some of these cases that have got a few citations and aren't paying those, this will add it to their taxes, as well as updating our RV, boat, and trailer ordinance, some major cleanups along the Feather River, and then continuing to work with vendors. These numbers here show the total number of notifications, over 1,000, and of those 1,000 notifications, about half turned into actual confirmed violations. So what that's showing is sometimes notifications are received that aren't necessarily showing an actual code violation. In addition, we do have our social media marketing, special thanks to Christy as well. We got a lot going on our social media. So I just wanted to kind of plug this for the community. If you don't follow us on Facebook, you should. We're also on Instagram, but that's a great way for you to educate yourself and to know what is going on. So what are the free resources? What projects are happening? That's a great way to get that information. And that's pretty much it for the quarterly update. So definitely scan the QR code and you can access it on your phone, or give me a call if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Any questions from the council tonight?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
Ashley, you're doing great work. I hear it from various different people across the community. So you're getting out there. And Christy, I think you're part of that with the social media stuff. So from me to you, thank you.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Actually, CDBG, I went to the breakout thing that they had at the senior center, and they were asking for people to give their opinions. I was really amazed at the fact that the ladies that were there, the consultants, said that there was like only normally an average of 15 people that respond to that. Did we do any better?
To be honest, I don't know the numbers of if we got the response, but I can find out. I'll talk to Shannon and let you know.
That might be an avenue that we need to market a little better. I mean, to get only 15 people to respond to money that's available to our community, I think is a little dismal at this point. So, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Definitely.
That's it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, hearing none. Ashley, thank you so much. On behalf of all of us up here, you're doing an amazing job. And I know from a couple of council members that's been around here for a while, I think you're exactly what we envisioned coming on and making a difference. So thank you for all you do. All right, we will move on to agenda item 5, appearance of interested citizens. You're welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on action items appearing on the consent calendar or business items on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on any other items within the scope of the city's jurisdiction, including items not listed on the agenda, will be considered at this time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to this meeting will be allotted 5 minutes to comment per speaker. Repetitive comments may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. We did not have any requests 24 hours, but do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Do we have any public comment on the consent items, consent calendar for tonight? That is items 6 through 16. Hearing no public comment, I bring it back to the council for action.
Move to accept consent calendar 6 through 16.
Have a motion? And I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We're going to move on to agenda item 17, which is Pioneer Community Energy expansion to include the city of Yuba City. Ms. Langley, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. So the item before you tonight is the Pioneer Community Energy expansion to include the city of Yuba City. And I put the recommendation first tonight because we're going to have representatives from Pioneer do a presentation, and then we'll come back. I will have a couple of closeout slides, and then we can proceed to the public hearing, and then if council chooses, introduce the ordinance. So on June 18th of 2024, council authorized staff to coordinate with Pioneer on the preparation of an impact assessment study. And tonight we have a representative of Pioneer here. So Jean is going to come up and do a presentation on the result of the findings.
Good evening, Mayor Shaw and members of the council. Thank you for having me here tonight. I am Gina Stassi Vanacore, and I'm from Pioneer. I'd also like to introduce my colleague, Jake Trimble, who works side by side with me and has been very involved in this process. So as a quick reminder of who we are, Pioneer Community Energy is a joint powers authority. We are a not-for-profit, community-owned electricity provider. As a JPA, we are comprised of local governments And we were formed for the sole purpose of purchasing power on behalf of our members to save energy customers money. We focus on the generation portion of the bill, which represents about 40% of customers' energy bills, and we are an alternative to Pacific Gas and Electric. One of the things that makes Pioneer unique is we prioritize customer savings, and we are really proud of the fact that since launching in 2018, we have saved our customers $108 million, and we project another $31 million in customer savings this year. We are very proud of having an A- issuer credit rating from S&P Global, and we also have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. We're here tonight to talk about expansion. Our current members are El Dorado and Placer counties and all of the cities therein, as well as the cities of Nevada City and Grass Valley. There is growing interest in Pioneer, including the counties of Butte, Glenn, Nevada, Sutter, and Tuolumne, and all of those cities inside of them. And we would be thrilled to have the city of Yuba City become one of our members. A little bit of background, as City Manager Langley mentioned, we were here back in June, and we started beginning the discussion of what it would take for the city of Yuba City to join Pioneer. We also had been talking at that point to Sutter County and Live Oak. And at that point, the county and the two cities decided to jointly commission an impact assessment study with Pioneer. And what we really wanted to study is whether or not expansion would make financial sense. And then also we needed to make sure Pioneer could in fact procure the energy needed to serve the increased load while also protecting ratepayer savings. I'm here to share those studies with you tonight. By way of background, we also have shared those studies with city staff, and we've shared them with our board, who has approved moving ahead with expansion. We are in the process of preparing a plan to submit to the California Public Utilities Commission, and we plan to do that in March. We expect that the CPUC will approve the plan later this summer, at which point, if you approve, Pioneer would begin the process of procuring power for Yuba City. I do want to remind you that at that point, we would come back yet again just to make sure that the city of Yuba City wants to join. So there's still one more off-ramp if for some reason you decide to change your mind. Let's talk a little bit about the impact assessment study. The goals of the study were really to answer three questions. Does it make financial sense? Can we secure the power resources to serve an expanded load? And does the timing for the launch work for the city of Yuba City? Oop, I'm having trouble. This one? There we go. Thank you. A little bit about the study. It was conducted by Pacific Energy Advisors, very well-known, very well-respected in the field. We examined 2 years of consecutive data from 2022 and 2023. I would actually like to acknowledge and thank city staff for helping us get the data required for the study. We projected revenues based off, actually it was 2024 rates, which were at a 7% discount from PG&E. Our board last week just did a rate adjustment for 2025, and our average rate savings will be 10%. This is a very conservative approach based on what we know about our own fiscal strength, and we fully believe that PG&E will continue to raise rates over time. There are three components to power supply, all of which were carefully considered in the study. One is the cost of energy, which, believe it or not, seems to be coming down a little bit. Another factor is renewable energy. As you may be aware, the state of California has mandates in place so that the energy mix will be 60% by the year 2030. So we are very mindful of making sure we are always in compliance. The upside and renewable energy has been very constricted in recent years, largely due to increased demand, made worse by COVID. The good news is that we are seeing some of those bottlenecks open up. We are seeing power permits being approved, and we're seeing more and more projects come online. The downside is that there is considerable competition to get those resources. And then the last part of the equation is resource adequacy. It's called RA. It is a regulatory mechanism put in place by the California Public Utilities Commission. It requires us to buy 15% more power than we need to ensure that the lights stay on if the grid becomes strained. So we examined all of those closely, and here's what we found. So the city of Yuba City has just over 27,000 customers in the following categories: residential, commercial, and industrial, ag, and street lighting. It would expanding into Yuba City would be an increase of about 15% to what Pioneer to our current load. Okay, I'm having trouble. Oh, there we go. In terms of fiscal impact, this considers projected costs at the time of launch. So we plan to submit our plan to the CPUC in March. We expect findings back in summer, and then the CPUC makes us wait 1 year before we do anything related to expansion. The study found that launching in fiscal year 26-27 was not financially feasible, but we could launch in fiscal year 27-28. The challenge there became that if we launch at the beginning of a new fiscal year in summer, that's when rates are naturally highest. So what was recommended is that we launch in October 2027. That allows us time to procure all of the energy that we need to remain in compliance, to protect our existing customers, and still offer new customers savings on their energy bills. What we did not want to do is do a service launch when rates were naturally high. So in the interest of full disclosure, this is a little bit different than what we spoke of last June when we were talking about a January 2027 launch, but the numbers just didn't pencil out. So. What am I doing wrong? Thank you. So the study did answer the three questions we most needed to know. We can launch in Yuba City with no financial impact to our existing customers while still protecting ratepayer savings for all new customers if we launch in October 2027. We can secure all of the needed resources to serve Yuba City. We did, as a safety check, do an RFP to ensure that we could procure all of the power that is needed to launch all of our expansion communities simultaneously. So we're really pleased to be able to say we can launch everyone all at once. There will not be any phase in. And then the last question really is up to you. Does the recommended timing of 2027 work for the city of Yuba City, considering it is different than what we initially spoke of? So here we are at next steps. And I think, so we're January, February. Our members our proposed members are asked to adopt an ordinance and approve a resolution by the end of February if your intention is to join Pioneer. One of the questions we are often asked is why we need both. So for your information, the legislation that created CCAs requires an ordinance, but the CPUC requires us to include an implementation plan or a resolution in the implementation plan. So we are in the process of getting those administrative documents from all of our prospective members. Again, we would love for the city of Yuba City to join us. We will then file our plan with the CPUC and hopefully have an approval back this summer. At that point, we would again come back and make sure that the city wants to still join. So at this point, I would be happy to answer any questions, or I will turn the floor over to City Manager Langley.
Any questions at this time from the council? No? You're up, sir.
All right, thanks. Why do we have to wait a year through the CPUC?
From the time the plan is approved?
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly why the CPUC makes us wait 1 year, but I will tell you this. That year does allow us the extra time to start procuring energy on behalf of our expansion communities, and then we can lock in better pricing and longer term contracts. So as much as we are disappointed by the delay, there is an advantage to it.
And this is something that is implemented statutorily then, or at the state level? It's not something that we could potentially impact in any way, shape, or form. It is what it is, 1 year.
It is what it is, yes.
Thank you for that answer. Second is, I'm assuming that because the distribution system is still PG&E, we would still be subject to those planned power outages if they decided to turn off the transmission lines?
Yes, because PG&E still owns the lines and poles. But one thing that does happen is if you were to join Pioneer, you become a customer of Pioneer and a customer of PG&E. And one of the things we really try to do is work with customers if we know that there's going to be an outage, or to give them a heads up so there's better planning. And what we have found is even a few minutes makes a big difference in those instances. And I can tell you, Jake monitors that every single day.
Okay. You're asking for us eventually to continue with the process. Does Sutter County have to be on board as well, or are we can do it on our own if we need to? I don't know what they're.
Yeah, no, each of you can act independently. It does work a little bit better if all three join, but it has happened before. For example, the cities of Grass Valley and Nevada City joined Pioneer, but the county did not. We launched successfully this last January of 2024. And I will tell you, for the first 6 months of the calendar year, the single biggest question that came into our call center was, when could we join? And I'm really pleased to report that Nevada City and Grass Valley will have a 24% discount over PG&E for calendar year 2025.
It's crazy good. Final question for me is, this was a question that we asked early on, was our existing solar, folks who have solar panels on the roof and all the true-up process and all that heebie-jeebie, for lack of a better term, how's that going to work here?
So whatever solar plan you have with PG&E rolls right over to Pioneer. We do have 42,000 solar customers. We pay a 1/2 cent premium over PG&E if you are a net generator. If you are a net consumer, you still get the same savings that Pioneers offers. We reconcile annually. I believe last year we paid 9,000 customers approximately $1.2 million. And we are indifferent to whether our customers are on NIM 1, NIM 2, or solar billing plan.
Appreciate your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the council?
Mark actually asked part of it, but so you addressed the solar question I had. I was curious about the opt-in versus opt-out. I know that's a California thing, but I wanted to hear just an explanation about
No, that's a great question. So should you join Pioneer, the entire community would be automatically enrolled and we would become the default provider. Now, again, if customers choose to opt out, it's very easy. It takes about 30 seconds and you can find the button on the homepage of our website. There are two reasons for that. One is when the legislature envisioned CCAs, they wanted to make sure all customers had access to the benefits that we provide. The other reason is it allows us to plan for how much energy to buy. And just so you know, there is no cost to opt out. There is no cost to opt back in. However, after the first 60 days, if a customer opts out, they do have to wait 1 year before they opt back in.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, according to the impact assessment study and the Pioneer leadership team, the expansion provides potential benefits to residents listed here. And as Gina also mentioned, if approved by council, it would move forward to the CPUC with the planned implementation date of October 2027. Alternatives for you to consider tonight is do not authorize joining Pioneer Community Energy as a member agency, or receive this overview presentation of the findings of the impact assessment study, conduct a public hearing, and defer introduction of the ordinance to a future meeting to allow time for more consideration if so necessary. The fiscal impact, there is no cost to the city to join Pioneer, and then joining Pioneer will provide Yuba City businesses and residents with another option for the purchase of power. So with that, here's the recommendation. So you've received the findings. We're requesting that you do a public hearing to get public input, and then if council wants to proceed, introduce the ordinance.
All right, hearing no further comments or anything from the council, we will go ahead and the public hearing for the Pioneer Community Energy expansion to include the city of Yuba City is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. We do have one speaker's card already. Mr. Phil Traynor, you have the mic, sir. You have 3 minutes. Please, again, state your name and address for the record.
I'm a little bit slow in getting her on, so I hope everybody can hear me. If you can't, I'll try to repeat myself. I lost my voice a couple of months ago, and I'm in the throes of maybe getting it back. I would make this suggestion to the board and to Pioneer. First of all, I would 30 go along with signing up with Pioneer. However, there's some questions that should be asked. First of all, before the board do anything, I think they should have a public meeting, and the public should be well aware of what it might help them if they were to join into a community power. There are now 24 community power groups in California. I would hope that the city have looked into more than one. There's 3 or 4 that we could join. I would think a Pioneer is probably the logical one, but we should, on behalf of the public, look into the others. They all have different rates, they all have got different contracts, and they all have got different manners of doing business. So the ones that would do best, I believe that Yuba City and perhaps Sutter County, if they did join, can make one hell of a good deal. We have a lot to offer them. They've got a lot to offer us. As you know, I got into this back about a year ago when I first met with Community Power in Rockland. I told them that I thought I could come back to Yuba City and maybe do something about getting Yuba City to join in the community power. I then went to Sutter County, told them the same story. I think I made a good job of convincing somebody to take a look at it. However, I left it up to the city and the county at that point, hoping that I would be involved in any discussions, which I was not, which is whatever that means. So my idea is, I would suggest that the city, and perhaps the county would come in on this too, the citizens would all be aware of what they're getting into, what the savings might be, and what they're involved in. I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other comments from the public?
Thank you. Tana Thomas, 1532 Germain Drive, Yuba City. Actual, rather than a comment, is kind of a question, and I'm not sure how to do that, so I'll just ask it, and then you can tell me I can or I can't. And it's from Pioneer. She mentioned that if there was an opt-in, opt-out, and the default is opt-in, and then opt-out was by way of a website. And my concern is there an alternative to websites? Because we do have some community members who don't do website type things, so there would need to be some other way that they wouldn't be stuck doing something or feel trapped into doing something they didn't want to. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to answer that question here under the public hearing?
Yes, and thank you for the question. Before we were to launch, we would do an entire series of community outreach events, town halls. We would mail people information. We'd make sure, first of all, that citizens know what's going on, so there are no surprises. In addition to that, we would do regulatory mailers, which tell you exactly how to opt in and opt out. But in the event that people can't get to the website, we do have a call center. It's local, it's in Rockland, and you can always call to opt out as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comments? Give me just a few more minutes, Mr. Trainer. Okay. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Trainer, at my discretion, I'll give you 3 more minutes if you'd like to go back to the mic, sir.
From what I know, the opt-in and opting out is the big issue in all these community issues. It's not opting in with the local community power, it's opting into PG&E. It can become very, very expensive. Now, I do appreciate the fact that Pioneer will come up here and have public meetings. However, I believe that the county and the city should have these meetings prior to make any commitments to Pioneer. That's all I have to say. Thank you. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Trainer. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Okay, hearing no further comments, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring this back to the council. Just want to bring a couple of things to the attention of the council with why we went ahead and moved forward tonight. We had originally tried to move forward with the county and hold a joint meeting, but timing would not facilitate it. So we wanted to make sure that we take care of our citizens and bring it before our council so that we had plenty enough time. So that's why it was handled here tonight by itself. So it's a pleasure of the council.
I do have through the mayor, I do have a question.
Sir.
And that's to piggyback on Mr. Trailer's Trainer. I'm sorry, Trainer's question, which was pretty relevant. So this goes to Pioneer. The comment earlier was if you wanted to opt out of Pioneer, there was no cost. But what if you're opting out on to his point, on PG&E?
Well,
What is the cost involved with that?
there is no cost involved because Pioneer would become the default provider. So everyone would roll over from PG&E to Pioneer for the generation portion of their bill. However, PG&E still maintains the lines and poles. So customers are customers of both PG&E and Pioneer. But there's no cost associated if you opt in or opt out. The only caveat is that after the first 60 days, if you're with Pioneer, if you opt out, you do have to wait 1 year before you come back.
I do appreciate the involvement and the comment. My short time on council, when it comes down to community engagement and for example, the city trying to reach out or the county trying to reach out, it is challenging. It is challenging because what does that look like? Do you do it online and hope folks have the access to the internet? You have community member meetings where 4 or 5 people show up, and so just a legit. I appreciate that comment, but just in a perfect world, people would be more involved and they'd be interested and engaged. But that in itself is a challenge.
Right. Any other comments or anything? Yes, sir.
So I had the privilege to sit at Mr. Trainer's table with county representatives. Sir, I appreciate you inviting me to that meeting. I want to publicly apologize. I thought you charged us with going out and taking care of this, not getting you into the middle of it as well. So my public apologies to you for not reaching back to you. But I do appreciate you bringing this to our attention. It seems to me that there is a question here, and maybe Ms. Langley, you can answer this. And this is not to throw any shade on Pioneer, but have we been approached by any other provider?
The city has not been approached by another provider. Years ago, we were working with a local citizen when CCAs were first being developed. And at that point in time, it wasn't feasible. Butte County at one point in time had also done a feasibility study. Their feasibility study indicated, and this is again as a few years ago, that it wasn't financially feasible. And so when Pioneer reached out to Sutter County, Sutter County brought this forward to Yuba City to say, hey, here's something, and that's why we move forward with looking at this impact assessment study to see if it would be financially feasible. There are some other CCAs in the vicinity. My recollection in talking to Steve Smith with Sutter County is that he had looked at a couple of those, but I don't know of any in-depth conversations with those CCAs. Once Pioneer came forward, we saw the study. We also saw the agencies that are joining into this. That's why we are bringing this forward to council. If council wants us to go back and look at these other agencies, these other CCAs, in terms of direct proximity to, I believe there's one in Yolo County, and Gina might be able to respond to that sooner or better. Other than that one, like Butte County is proposing to join Pioneer. The cities within Butte County are joining Pioneer. And so, I really think Yolo County is probably the most feasible in terms of proximity. But if that's something that council wants us to explore, we most definitely can.
This is an opinion just of one, of course, is that I would like to go ahead and proceed with Pioneer based upon, I think, what we've heard before. I know that we've reached very locally and asked about acquiring power and have been sort of politely told no. So to me, it's important to get this in front of our citizens. And the reason I feel that is almost daily I hear from business owners who are just absolutely being hammered by PG&E rates, and even a 10% reduction is to their bottom line. And so the sooner that we can give them that option, I feel is better. And if Ms. Stassi Vanacore is correct in saying, look, we still have another opportunity to take an off-ramp if for whatever reason something comes up, then I think we have that opportunity. But to delay this any longer, I think wait until October 27th is too long, frankly. I mean, this is, and I get the regulation thing and the timing, but anyway, my concern is getting this ball moving. And again, Mr. Trainer, thank you. I do believe that you did help get this thing rolling, so I do appreciate that very much.
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
Well, my optic on this is that we're not on an island, and all of those other people that could supply us with energy have not approached us. We've not been, from what I've seen, so we've kind of been ignored at this point, where Pioneer has jumped up and got to the table with us. So I'm totally in favor of proceeding forward with this.
Any other comments?
The mayor, I would agree with both of you. I think that perhaps we could move forward with the ordinance and then maybe do the citizen attempt to do that anyway before the resolution. But I also feel just keeping it very simple in the spirit of potential jobs and free enterprise, this isn't something I would say no to. It just doesn't feel right. I would love to open up a choice for people.
Okay. All right. I'll make my last comments here, and then we'll see if the council would like to take any action, because we either take it or not with the introduction of an ordinance. We look at our economy and look at what the state has done to us, and we look at the out of control PUC here in California, who continually, every time we turn around, grants PG&E 10% raise, 20% raise, 4% raise. It never stops. Mr. Trainer, thank you, as Mark indicated, for bringing them to that meeting and starting the discussion, because this is something that can have a positive impact on not only our residents, but our businesses, even the city, when we're looking at tough economic times. I think this, here we are back to the PUC. We got to wait till 27 to go get the power. I'll just say it. We need to take away their power, and then we might be able to get something actually done. But we're only so many in a room. So with that, I like what I've heard so far. Thank you for bringing this forward. And if we go forward, Christy, I think we got a job ahead of us with social media, because we have to inform the public. So with that, back to the council. Would you guys like to take action?
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yuba City amending Title V of the Yuba City Municipal Code by adding Chapter 27, Community Choice Aggregation Program, to establish a Community Choice Aggregation Program in the City of Yuba City by title only and waive the first reading.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We will look at the next steps, if any, that we have to take to make sure that we meet the timeline, Ms. Langley.
So at the February 4th agenda, we would be bringing forward a resolution to amend the JPA, and then also be bringing forward adoption of the ordinance. So that would take place at the next council meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's move on to agenda item 18, which is the Downtown Yuba City Business Improvement District Levy of 2025 Annual Assessment. Ms. Langley, you have it again.
I'm back. So this is a process that we do every year. If you recall, the Business Improvement District was formed in early 1990s by businesses within that area. At the December 17th meeting, Council received the 2024-2025 annual report and declared its intention to levy and collect the assessment and set the public hearing for tonight. After the public hearing, City Council may take one of the following actions. So terminate proceedings if protests are received from business owners in the proposed district who collectively pay 50% or more of the proposed assessment. Order changes in any of the matters provided in the annual report. Continue the public hearing with the understanding that the public hearing must be completed within 30 days, or adopt a resolution confirming the annual report as originally filed or as amended. The adoption of the resolution constitutes the levy of the assessment for calendar year 2025. The alternatives are to not levy the assessment. I don't recommend this alternative. These funds go to the DBA to help fund a lot of the functions that they do to make that a place of prosperity for the businesses, or identify alternative funding sources for downtown improvements and activities. There's no direct fiscal impact to the city as we pass the funds on through the DBA, and the anticipated assessments for the year are $29,500. So with that, the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing, and then upon completion, depending upon the outcome, adopt the resolution confirming the assessments. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Langley. Before we open the public hearings, any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none. The public hearing for the Downtown Yuba City Business Improvement District Levy of 2025 Annual Assessment is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment and state your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments at this public hearing? Do we have any comments at this public hearing? Okay, hearing none, I am closing the public hearing and bringing this matter back to council for action.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move to approve staff's recommendation of item B for number 18.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 19, that is the 2040 General Plan Update. Mr. Libby, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Happy to be with you tonight. Excited to bring this item before you this evening. So 2040 General Plan Update. Before I jump into it, I thought I'd make a note that this update, the consultant services we use PlaceWorks to help us with this. And I'm happy to say that the funds that were used to pay PlaceWorks were actually done through a state planning grant funds. So no general funds were used for this effort, which is actually unusual when cities or counties do these projects. Okay, there is the cover of the document on the right side of the screen. So the purpose of tonight's item is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt a resolution approving an addendum to the 2004 General Plan EIR and approve the 2040 General Plan Update. As a little background, the last time the city did a comprehensive general plan update was 2004 and also adopted an EIR. If you go back into the records further, you would find that the previous general plan that was actually adopted in 1989. So it's not something that cities and counties do very often, and which makes tonight a little bit more special, a little bit more important. So hit some high points on the background. So one of the things that was unique about our 2004 general plan is it was the first time the city comprehensively planned its sphere of influence. And that was a big deal. That had never been done before. It laid out for the public, both in the city limits and outside the city, how we as a community were going to grow. The plan also, it's kind of funny, you look at, and it anticipated a population of about 119,000 people by this year in the city and the sphere of influence. In fact, if you look at the January 2024 State Department of Finance estimates, Yuba City has a population of just over 70,000 people. The state hasn't updated the data yet for this current year. But I mean, just taking a step back and you look at Sutter County as a whole, that same January 2024, Sutter County has a population, that's Yuba City, Live Oak, and the unincorporated county of just over 100,000 people. So the estimates were just way high. Now, factors that affected the city's growth, a couple things: Great Recession, global pandemic. These economic conditions resulted in these events significantly impacted cities and counties. Small and medium cities are always the last to come out of these economic downturns, and Yuba City was no exception. Now, over the last 10 years, the city has permitted an estimated average about 47 new dwelling units per year, and that's just not enough to keep pace with population growth in the region. It definitely has impacted supply and demand for our community. So the above factors result in the plan largely just not being built out. So the goal of this update, it's a focused update. It looks at maintaining the existing land uses, complying with statutory changes, update the plan as needed to keep it contemporary for our city's needs. Now, the Planning Commission considered this update at its December 11th meeting last month and unanimously recommended approval to your council. The goals of the plan proposed remain the same. Maintain a cohesive city, protect surrounding rural areas, fostering compact rather than scattered residential development with strong urban edges, provide new employment center to support economic development, build an interconnected street system, improving north, south, and east-west connectivity, create livable communities with convenient access to parks, schools, and neighborhood commercial facilities, locate new retail centers at accessible locations to serve both Yuba City residents and, just as importantly, shoppers from other communities. Make parks, schools, and open space integral to new development with linkages to existing parks and the Feather River Park system when feasible. Now, the state law does require all cities and counties to have a general plan, and it lists out there are 7 mandated elements, as well as you could have an 8th if you include a separate environmental justice or policies for environmental justice. So the 7 required updates or elements are listed on the screen for you. You can adopt optional updates. Yuba City has included a community design and an optional economic development elements. I think that's important to note. Even though housing is listed up there, our housing element was actually updated through a separate independent process that was adopted by the City Council March of 2022 and certified by the state in May of that same year. So what are some of the requirements of general plans? Well, they must be comprehensive. They have to apply to the entire incorporated area and should address the surrounding planning area. And so that goes back to what I originally said, was that this 2004 plan looked at the entire sphere of influence. And that, like I said, was a big deal. Plans must be internally consistent. Your figures, your diagrams, your text, the analysis, they all have to work with one another. None supersede the other. And the plan must resolve conflicts between elements. They're long range. Anticipated development will affect the city for years to come, and state law requires plans to take a long-term perspective. Now, on that point, this plan being a 2040 plan, realistically, in about 10 years, 2035, the city should really start thinking about doing a comprehensive update and looking at starting that process, getting the community involved so that you will be ready by 2040 to adopt the next general plan. All right, let's get into some of the fun stuff, the exciting updates. So plan-wide, mapping has been updated throughout the document, reflecting current city boundaries, land uses, including our new Bogue-Stewart master plan. This has resulted in updated electronic mapping for the city's GIS, or Geographic Information System. That's a big deal on the staff side of things. And it will allow us to do some updates to our website. Also plan-wide, tables, data have been updated to bring it current and consistent with state law. Information not required in a general plan, such as data on utility systems, utility connections, usage data, all good information that quickly becomes outdated and makes your document look dated. So that information was removed because it's not required. And it helps streamline the document. Plan-wide, also, the plan included these guiding policies and implementing policies that actually created confusion as far as which took precedent. So using the language of the plan, the document was reformatted to reflect goals, which are those aspirational items that we as a community want to work towards, and then the policies, which are the actions you take to actually implement your goals. Also in the land use element, there was a little, I think it was vague because we showed low density residential, low medium, and medium high. And so it created some confusion of, well, what's high, what's medium? So the document was reformatted to show low, medium, and high density residential. But the densities within that were previously established, they didn't change. It just provides clarity for what the intent is. For our circulation element, mapping of the highways, arterials, and collector roads, both existing and future, were updated together with the number of lanes certain roadways will be expanded to as the city grows. Due to the growth not materializing in the past, we were able to revise anticipated population projections, and certain arterial roadways will not need to be increased to 4 lanes as one approaches the sphere boundary of the city. And I would draw your attention on the map to, if you look at Franklin, you look at Lincoln, once you get out past George Washington, if you look on the existing plan, those were 4 lanes. Those can now be reduced to 2. Even Township in the old plan was 4 lanes. That can now be 2. That reduces cost for the city and for ultimately the development community. Exciting for this map. So existing and future signalized intersections are now incorporated in the plan based on our new traffic model for planned build out. And the next item on your agenda tonight will be, we're bringing forward that updated traffic model for adoption. All of this information flows into staff's working on an update to our road development impact fee, which we anticipate bringing forward to you in coming months. Also for the circulation element, Senate Bill SB 743, it was adopted in 2013, took effect in 2019. It really was a seismic shift on how traffic analysis in California is done. It shifted analysis from a level of service standard, which I think you're familiar with, level of service A through F, to vehicle miles traveled. And there's a description of what VMT means. I think the easy way is looking at the diagram to the right, is if you have greater distance to travel, you have fewer transportation options, possibly traveling just by yourself. That has an impact of increasing air pollution, greenhouse gases, and energy use. Whereas if you have less distance to travel, you have more transportation options, possibly who you are traveling with, and you can lower energy use, greenhouse gases, and air pollution. So based on the legislation, the 2040 plan was updated to require compliance with the city's existing SB 743 implementation guidelines. The emphasis on level of service was reduced by the policy that's shown up there. The city will strive to maintain a target LOSD or better for collector and or arterial intersections. So also, policy CI91 in the circulation element has been updated, and this pertains to the long truck tractors that oftentimes have a sleeper unit attached to them. They meet a length of, they exceed California's 65-foot legal limit, and they often are between 72 and 74 feet long. And so they have to drive on certain roadways. And so under the policy we're proposing to be amended is these trucks will be directed to approved areas only. The STAA or STA truck parking area shall be encouraged to develop outside the city limit boundaries unless measures are established to mitigate impacts of their trucking operations on city streets to protect our precious transportation dollars, which are always in limited supply. Utilities. Information regarding utilities has been streamlined to refer to separately adopted master plan documents for sewer, water, and drainage that are updated much more frequently than a general plan is. Pictures on the screen show our potable water plant on the left and our wastewater treatment plant on the right. Safety element. Very timely considering the news of the past few weeks. So this chapter, chapter 8, was just very outdated. The type of hazards we're required to look at are quite extensive and listed in the first bullet point. Basically, this chapter was completely rewritten, and I need to give a shout out to our Public Works engineering team, as well as our recently retired police chief, Baker, and our fire chief, Alexander, for their help. They were instrumental in getting this chapter updated. So it now reflects the city's adopted modern emergency planning efforts and policies. So parks. Neighborhood community parks were previously removed from the general plan back in the 2007-2008 timeframe. They are proposed to be reintroduced in anticipation of a future development impact fee update to ensure sufficient monies are collected for parkland development consistent with the Quimby Act. So you'll see on this map kind of lighter shade of green existing parks, The darker green are future parks out in the sphere, and now we have our Bogue Stewart master plan on the south, also showing parkland. Environmental justice. So it's the concept that everyone, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, have an equal right to environmental protection and be informed and involved in decision making. It addresses injustice when poor or marginalized communities are harmed by hazardous waste, resource extraction, other land uses that can be harmful to them. So environmental justice, or EJA, it became a mandatory requirement in 2016 through Senate Bill 1000, and it took effect in 2018. And in a nutshell, it said when cities and counties update 2 or more of your general plan elements, we're required to address environmental justice, and we can do that through a separate element or through integrating policies throughout the document, which is the approach that we took to integrate it throughout the document. So there's a state modeling program, which is shown under the second bullet point, and that screening tool measures indicators such as air, drinking water, waste sites, toxic emissions, asthma rates, and poverty. Areas identified by that model are indicated in figure diagram 3-2 in the plan and are shown on the screen. So Appendix 3-1 of the 2040 plan contains a comprehensive table of applicable existing general plan policies that reduce these measures. So we didn't look at reinventing the wheel. We looked at what existing policies do we have and how can those already show that we're kind of meeting these requirements. And that's what we were able to show. So it's kind of repackaging existing policies under that exhibit, which shows that we meet the statutory requirements. So environmental review. The city did an environmental impact report that was certified for the 2004 general plan, made findings of overriding consideration for certain impacts, and adopted certain mitigation measures. For this update, an addendum to that EIR is proposed, demonstrates the analysis done in 2004 adequately addresses the potential physical impacts associated with implementation, and this update does not trigger any of the conditions described in the CEQA guidelines that require further environmental review. This update does not require major revisions. This is because the proposed update is focused on refining and refreshing policy issues to be consistent with the latest requirements and practice standards, and does not propose changes to land use or other items that could have an impact greater than what was previously analyzed. Future development will still be subject to CEQA, and the projected population of the 2040 horizon year is just under 105,000 persons in the city limits and sphere of influence, still less than the 119,400 that were projected in the current document. As a result, an EIR addendum is the appropriate environmental documentation for this action. We must make findings in order to act upon this, which these are laid out in the resolution included in your staff report, and I promise I won't read it to you. So the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution to adopt an addendum to the certified EIR from 2004 and approve the 24 general plan update. Mark Teague from PlaceWorks is here with us this evening, who can help answer questions, as well as myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Is there any comments or questions from the council before we open the public hearing? Okay. Hearing none. The public hearing for the 2040 general plan update is now open. If there are any members of the public who'd like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have anyone that wants to make any comments? Any public comments at this time? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment, or the public hearing, and bring this matter back to council.
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Yuba City adopting an amendment to the Certified Environmental Impact Report of the 2004 Yuba City General Plan and approving the 2040 General Plan Update.
Okay, I have a motion. Before I get a second, Ms. Langley.
Sorry to interrupt the vote. I just want to say that this is a monumental achievement, and I want to recognize Doug's work, Development Services work, all of the departments involved, Public Works, Fire, Police, everybody. And the fact that you are so quickly voting on this speaks to the quality of the work that was done. And I just cannot let this moment pass without saying thank you very much, because this is a lot of months of dedication and hard work, and Shannon's office too, in terms of reviewing this. And just great job. I cannot say enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So on that note, before we get that, Christy, can we get a photo of him at the podium? So anyway, do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. You know what? We're going to do this one differently just because this is so monumental. I'm going to call for a roll call vote on this just to signify the importance of this. Sarah, would you do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Kirchner.
Aye.
Councilmember Pasquale.
Aye.
Councilmember Cole.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Boomgarden.
Yes.
And Mayor Shaw.
Aye. Unanimous, it passes. Thank you for all your hard work, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let's move right on to agenda item 20, which is exactly where I knew we were going to end up for passing the other one. We have the citywide traffic demand model update. Mr. Moody, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Just to echo, Diana beat me to the punch, but it truly is. This is that quiet work that goes behind, and that's happening in the background that is really instrumental on how it impacts the city development and how we grow into the future, and the professionalism and how complete and working through it. Doug did an exceptional job to move that needle and bring it forward. And so really my item tonight is on the coattails of Doug's, and it's really talks about the citywide traffic model update. And so this is an effort that started in 2019. So these are long processes to get through some of these, and it was it had multiple items with this update that involved the vehicle miles traveled to comply with state mandates for CEQA. It also dives into figuring out our infrastructure needs, and then it sets a backbone for future fee analysis for an update. And so really, the last one that was done was in 2004. There was small updates here and there, but it really was, the intent is to capture the changes that have happened over the last 2 decades. So as the city's sphere of influence has grown, we've looked at specific plans in the Bogue Sewer Master Plan area, the Lincoln East specific plan area, and just policies have changed. Is how do you put that into a document, reanalyze what the traffic is, and then really look at it with where we're at today is being realistic on what the city wants and needs, because it sets that important background data for collecting fees and setting design standards for development. And so that's what we have tonight, and that was what was implemented into the general plan amendment. And as we review development, we've with this being done, this work being done since 2020 and going through COVID, and there's some ongoing work going on, we look at that as we review development for determining what size road are we going to make developers build and what type of fees are we going to charge them. So the update need, as I talked, reassess growth projections. Again, 20 years ago, they said we were going to be 100% bigger than we are. And so let's be realistic on how fast we're growing. Evaluate the need for 4-lane arterials. Back then, there was growing. We didn't know how far the city was going to go. But do we really need to build a 4-lane road all the way out to the sphere if that's not what we're planning on doing? And so, and pay for that, and then just the cost, how that trickles through. Correspondence with the circulation transportation element that Doug talked about, provide thresholds for the traffic impact studies when they're triggered, compliance with the SB 743 implementation, and corresponds with future road development impact fee update work. So updating the annual daily traffic volume. So really what this means is when they looked at these models and figuring out the roads and the classifications, is it a residential? Is it a arterial? Is it a parkway? How big is it? How many lanes does each road plan to travel? And then it really looks at the daily travel volume and what that's going to be at with build out with those land uses. So I had a few fun facts I was just going to bring for the audience. Not too surprising, but there's approximately 10 vehicle trips per household for a single family residence and about 71 vehicle miles traveled per household. So that means every day, if you counted all the trips that went in and out of each house, that tallies up to about 71 miles that's being traveled by each household. 72% of employed persons live within Yuba City. 72% of employed persons living within Yuba City commute to a job outside. So it's not real surprising for the people who live here, but about 3 out of 4 people commute to work. And the average commute is a little over 26 minutes. And 10% is a super commute, where 10% of the population, Yuba City residents, are driving 60 minutes or more outside Yuba City. So a few takeaways from the data. This is too small to see, but if you dive into the report, it really shows the vehicle miles, about 120% increase, and that corresponds with basically the remaining households and the businesses that grow out in the city sphere. And so you'll see, so in 2040, maybe 2060, there's going to be about twice as many cars on the road. So when we looked at this with staff, really it was right-sizing the roadways. Let's look at this, what's real, and then updating boundaries and land uses to be current. And so with that, I'm happy to dive into any questions, but it's proper with this being a foundation document to go into looking at future impact fees and then also establishing needs for the Bogue Stewart Master Plan area, that we formally adopt this document. And so staff is recommending a resolution accepting the travel demand model development report dated October 2020, prepared by Fear and Peers, and updating the city's travel demand model for general plan build-out conditions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Is there any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, is there any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Mayor, adopt the resolution accepting the travel demand model development report dated October 2020, prepared by Fear and Peers, updating the city's travel demand model for general plan build-out conditions.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you both to you guys and your entire teams. I know an awful lot of work went into that, and thank you for making it so seamless, and just thank you for the jobs that you guys do. So, going on to agenda item 21, amendments to the community sponsorship policy. Christy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Christy Morales, and I'm here tonight to go over the amendments to the community sponsorship policy. A little bit of an overview is the policy has been in place to support community events and nonprofit programs benefiting Yuba City's residents. Applications for sponsorships are currently reviewed on a first-come, first-served basis quarterly at council meetings January, April, July, and October. On October 1st, 2024, Mayor and the Council requested that staff update and revise the policy. Staff has reviewed the policy and identified areas where changes are necessary. Some key proposed changes would be the 12-month eligibility restriction. Organizations that receive a sponsorship will not be eligible to apply for the new sponsorship within 12 months from the date of last award. Application reviews will be quarterly. Sponsorship applications will be reviewed quarterly with submission deadlines. First come, first served processing. Applications will be processed on a first come, first served basis with each quarter. The difference here is that the funds will be awarded in that quarter, not the quarter of the event. Fourth, fifth vote exception. The City Council may override the 12-month eligibility restriction with the fourth, fifth vote in special circumstances. There is no fiscal impact associated with the proposed changes. Alternatives would be 1, do not adopt the proposed amendments. 2, adopt the policy with changes. The recommendation tonight is to adopt a resolution amending the administrative policy for community sponsorship. Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Any questions from the council? Any comments from the council?
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I do appreciate staff taking the time to jump on this particular item. I know within the past there were some concerns about this issue, and I think what the staff came up with was right and proper. So thank you for that.
Any other comments or questions? Yeah, Christy, thank you for your work on this before we open it up to the public. I think that does capture what we started about 6 years ago, wasn't it, Vice Mayor? So that it was fair and people had the opportunity, and we want to be a good community partner. So with that, any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, bringing it back to council for action.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution amending the administrative policy for community sponsorships.
All right, I have a first by Councilmember Kirchner and a second by Councilmember Pasquale. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. And we will move on to agenda item 22, which is the Measure D voting results. Ms. Langley.
Thank you. So first I want to acknowledge Vice Mayor Boomgarden, because he went through, if you go to California City Finance website, Michael Coleman does a great job of going through and looking at the election results. He develops a final report of how elections went within the state. And Vice Mayor Boomgarden went through those election results and really did a data analysis of how the various revenue measures for local agencies fared. And so through this, there were general fund sales tax measures, 91 cities and 4 counties that had an 85% passing rate. And of special sales tax measures for local government, there were 10 cities and 6 counties that had a 37.5% passing rate. So general fund sales tax measure requires a 50% plus 1 majority vote. Special sales tax measures by local government requires the 66 and 2/3 vote. The special sales tax measures that were brought forward by citizens, which requires a 50% plus 1 approval rating, there were 4 cities and 4 counties at which 50% passed. If you look at local results for sales tax measures, you can see that right here, there's a lot in this area that passed. So starting with Davis, West Sacramento, Butte County, Willows, Orland, Marysville, Dixon, Loomis, Winters, and then we were right there with the no, but we were in company with Woodland. Lincoln, Roseville, Rockland had a road special tax that was proposed, Red Bluff, Williams, and Folsom. If you'll note on the type here, some of them were increases, and some of them were new, and some were extensions. And then a lot of them did not have sunsets, and then there were a few that were proposing sunsets. At this point in time, Vice Mayor Boomgarden, would you like to add anything into the stats in terms of your observations related to the results? Sorry to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, boy, thanks. No. Well, thanks for the shout out too. I think that the information highlights and confirms some of our assumptions, i.e. we thought that a general sales tax might be more palatable because those have had a history of passing statewide at a higher level than a special tax. So the data certainly supported that across California. It was interesting to dive in and take a look. One of the things that came out of the discussion was, maybe you should have a sunset. Well, if you look at the far right column, you'll find that even the local ones that passed, most of those, if not a very high percentage of those, did not have a sunset. So that's another kind of a data point that's interesting, or I found interesting. I also found it interesting if you look at the amount, because there was always some discussion about whether or not we should go for something less than 1% or something more than 1%. Again, you see a large percent of the percentages were 1%. So there's good information in here, for analysis, if you will. In the fire service, we called it an after-action report or a post-incident analysis. And so I'm kind of looking at that through that lens. Just can't take the fire chief out of the fire chief, I guess. But you know, the overarching thing here, and I've made this comment before. I don't look at our attempt here to place this in front. I don't know if I can say this. Can I say this? I'm going to say it. I might get in trouble. You know, let me back up. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble. The data seemed to support the actions we took, or at least the proposal that we put in front of the voters for consideration. And I better just leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you, Diana.
I've got a question for you, Mark. Go back to the next, or the last, there you go.
This one?
Yeah. Mark, were Woodland, Lincoln, Roseville, Rockland, Red Bluff, Williams, and Folsom, were they all over the 7.25 already?
So Woodland is an increase, and I don't know the answer. I know. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Through the mayor. So in the case of Woodland, they were going from an 825 to a 925. In that particular case.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
The other ones I don't know about.
Because I don't think any of those other ones were on that list of over 50,000 at 7.25 that were there 8 cities. I don't think any of those were there, were they? All these people were trying to go over what we were trying to do from the base rate. Okay.
I don't know if that's because we looked at cities with a population of over 50,000. Some of the cities on here have less than 50,000, like Williams. And I know for Folsom, it's their sales tax rate is higher than 7.25, but that funding goes to the county. So this was a special revenue measure put forward by the citizens specifically for their operations.
Let me add one thing real quick here, too, that I found out here recently. So on the Lincoln, Roseville, and Rockland, this was a special tax that they had to go get permission and some sort of state approval so they could put it on the ballot. And it passed in Lincoln, but didn't pass in Roseville and Rockland, but it had to pass in all jurisdictions to carry forward. So Lincoln was proud of themselves.
All right, and thank you to Sutter County for providing us with this map of that visually shows how the community voted on Measure D. So the areas in green, so council districts 1 and 3, Measure D passed, and then the rest of the city, it did not. And so the total votes were 11,480 in favor of Measure D and 13,440 not in favor of Measure D, so almost a 2,000 vote split. And for comparison purposes, I provided the Measure D results, the city-led revenue measure from 2024 on the left-hand side. The right-hand side reflects Sutter County's Measure A. That was a county-wide revenue measure. And you can see that there was a shift in terms of who voted yes within the community. The northwestern portion of town still was very opposed to a revenue measure. But what was interesting is how there was a shift in the areas in the southern portion of town, where in 2022, there was some favorable feelings towards the revenue measure. And then in 2024, there wasn't. So I know council's had the opportunity to speak to a lot of people in the community. We've also held a couple of meetings from citizens that listed their name on wanting to participate in an oversight committee. So we invited all of those individuals to come meet with the mayor and vice mayor. We've held 2 of those meetings. We've received a lot of feedback. At this point in time, I would like to give the opportunity to council to talk about some of the feedback that has been received, if you would like.
I'm good. I don't want to get in trouble.
So he puts me in front of the bus. I get it. You know, what we have been trying to do over the past couple of months is really just understand. And because we brought forward what we felt, as Mark said earlier, that was justified and was a good plan for the future of the city. And we heard these themes not only out of the citizens group that we've been meeting with. We've, the Chamber of Commerce. We met with them recently. General conversations with leaders throughout, and just cups of coffee at Starbucks, because that seems where we all kind of hang out on the north end of town. And this is the themes. It's the economy has, for lack of better words, it's sucked for a while, and there's optimism. It seems to be going now, but the economy today, the bread was the same price it was yesterday and the day before, so nothing's changed yet. The people are still hurting when they're trying to put food on the table. And overall, I'm just going to kind of go down a little bit. Distrust of government. And strangely enough, the vice mayor and myself in several meetings have heard from people that would sit right there and go, we trust you guys, but we don't trust them. And, talk about federal government and everything else. But guess who ends up taking the blame for everything? There's just a general lack of distrust. People being anti-tax, concerns about, really with the city and the county and how we would work together. When we went through the measure, this is all brought up by them. But, they saw the city out there for a revenue measure, but they did not see our counterparts at the county, and yet we were sharing with them. And there was a lot of confusion on what the county would do with it. They didn't feel like there was a clear message there. They talked about the campaign methods that we used. There was a conscientious decision made not to use social media. And citizens group said, no, back to the distrust of government. Sometimes I think distrust of media. They're like, you need to be on social media because that's where people are getting what they think is news these days. And then back to what we talked about earlier. Should it have been special? Should it have been in general? Sunset? No sunset? So there's a lot of data that we're basically just digesting. And I think as part of tonight is we just wanted to share what the feedback has been through this process, and wanted to make sure that the full council was aware of this, as the vice mayor and myself have been in these meetings just really trying to find out what went wrong, because of the simple fact we know we had a good, solid plan for the city's future. Would you like to add anything, sir?
No, I think you covered it. I'd be interested if our colleagues have heard anything
Yep.
that's not on that list.
Yep. So I'll open it up to the council then at this point, if you guys have anything else you want to add.
You want to go?
Let's
So
go.
I've definitely heard all of this, and I've been really fascinated by this whole thing. But there is one thing that I've heard a little bit about, and that is people were, I guess, not distrusting, but a little bit confused about how many items we listed. It was just like, this is too much. What if I want my money to go towards A, B, and C, but it goes towards, D, E, and F? It just, people were saying maybe if you narrowed the list down to, 3 specific things or 4, it did get very vague with the county too. So like the list says, but just a lot of items on the list, and how do we know how much is going to go towards which item?
Thank you. Mr. Kirchner.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep this short because I could go on all night about this, but I would like to start by thanking the hard work of all the individuals in our community that got behind this, the ones that put a sign in their yard, the people that told somebody, the ones that went door to door, and it was heartbreaking. It really was. Just one of 5. It really felt like within a span of 24 hours that the next 4 years is going to go from being 4 years of saying yes to saying no. That's what it felt like to me. So it was heartbreaking. And I've heard a lot of those same concerns from constituents. But it is interesting that right across the river, theirs passed at a rate of 75% to 25%. Of course, it was a continuation, but what that tells me is at some point they had one called Measure C, and their community saw the value of that. And moving forward, that's what it's going to have to look like. So that's all I've got.
Through the mayor. Diana, would you please go back to the map that you had there? Okay, where it passed. I think people don't realize that green area of 1 and 3 and the light green, that is the basic Yuba City that I grew up in. That's what I call my Rust Belt, because I'm in the Rust Belt. All this other stuff down south and east and to the northeast, that's all new. And the one thing that I found from that list that was not up there is people where my neighborhood's okay. And it was all in those areas that didn't pass. So I think that was very telling to me. The people that are getting close to having gravel streets are in those spots that it passed. So I think we need to probably look at bringing community members closer together to say that we are in a solid one community. And so that's the one thing that I think is missing up there on that list.
Yeah, I would echo that. That came out of the meeting the other night that one of the community members mentioned was that northwest section, and they actually brought it to our attention because we hadn't brought it up. And it's like, look, and if we were to go back to Mr. Libby's presentation, I think earlier, or Ashley's, I can't remember which one it was, it showed all the developments all over town and how it's going. Most of those are it's just the way the city has built out, and those are the newer subdivisions, the newer neighborhoods. They don't have the deterioration of the streets like 1 and 3 does. And so maybe that had a big impact on it as well. So any other comments or any other thoughts from the council at this point? And Ms. Langley, I'll hand it back to you.
That was it. Thank you.
Oh, well, that was it.
That's it.
All right. On that, which Shannon's not here, but I know, is there any comments from the public? Because I'm sure he would, he would remind me. All right, hearing none, we will move on. And thank you so much for the information. Which that is a good segue into the appointments to the City Council regional boards and committees, and that is proposed by me. We have the list. It's customary for the mayor to put together a list of assignments every year, trying to basically share the workload. And actually, that's it. Do we have all the ad hocs? Do we have a slide that I filled in, or is this what we have? This is it. Okay. Well, I'll just have to ad lib. Couple of things I want to talk about that went away, and a couple of things that's being renewed, and a brand new one. Is really surrounding the ad hoc committees. The Development Impact Fee Ad Hoc Committee recommended that be dissolved. And the reason is because anything coming forward at this point, the ad hoc has really done its job, and it will be coming before all 5 of us. After talking with Ms. Langley, there would really be no need for it, since it is going to be coming towards before all 5 of us at this point. Along those same lines, ad hocs are not supposed to be met forever. So it's time for that one to go to the wayside. It's funny that we just had agenda item 22, all looking in the rearview mirror, and then we go to 23, let's start looking forward. New ad hoc committee, which will be a revenue ad hoc committee. I've asked the vice mayor and Councilmember Kirchner to be that ad hoc. Ladies and gentlemen, the need has not changed. When we put together a plan a year ago and said we had needs in the city and we got to figure it out, that has not changed with the failure of Measure D. So with that ad hoc committee, I would like for them to figure out if there's additional revenue sources, and if that revenue source is a new measure, then let's bring it forward. And let's bring it forward in 26, because that is the next available shot that we have to put it on the general election ballot. Again, because the need has not changed. The only caveat that I would ask, and we actually heard this in the meeting the other night, is we heard this: who elected us? The citizens of the city. Put the city first, take care of the city. Figure it out. we're all part of the county and everything, but let's take care of our city. The second one is a community outreach ad hoc, which we've been learning out of this. It'll be myself and Councilmember Pasquale. We need to educate the community through every means that we can on what's going on in the city. It could be changes that's going to take place with D not passing. It could be how government works. It could be, as we were talking earlier, pioneer energy. But we will be working with Christy and Miss Langley to figure out the different avenues and the things that we need to do, which we will also begin to pull in the rest of the council, but we'll figure out those topics and those messages that we feel need to come out to the public. And looking at playbooks that were used during the D campaign, I would like for us to start trying to do virtual town halls with that outreach ad hoc. And there's a nice tool out there. It called everybody in the city for Measure D. We had, was it like 1,200 people on at one time? Your phone just rang. You're on a town hall. If you want to listen, great. And we ended up with, I think it was about 800 or 900 that pretty much stayed on for the whole times that we used those. But we have to get our message out and help communicate to people, whether it's Pioneer, whether it's changes that are coming. We've got to utilize that, and we need to strengthen what's going on in Miss Langley's office with Christy and social media to make all of that work. So that's really the notable changes. And as when it's all gone, I will, in history, ask the council to approve my recommendations.
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, comment.
Uh-huh.
Last year was the first year we actually had an official Sikh parade ad hoc, which I fully endorse. And since councils do come and go and staff comes and goes, I'm hoping that there's a mechanism, a template, if you will, to, as the council change out and other councils, that template is in place, because the parade typically is on the same day every year and has the same amount of folks, give or take 100 or two. But my point is, I'm hoping we pass that consistency forward. So I guess that's a question.
Yeah, it's on there. The ad hoc committee last year was the mayor and vice mayor. We set the ad hoc this year, mayor and vice mayor, and has to do with several different things, and one of which is, I think, with respect to the temple leadership, that they're dealing with the leadership of the council, and that's the way they would like to handle it, and we want to give them the respect and do that as well. I think a bigger picture is, as that was really the first year of it, and now this is the second year. If it's needed as things change, it might be something that we look making a standing committee in the future that others, because it may warrant that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion.
So move to accept the committee assignments.
I have a first. Do I have a second? Second. Okay. I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, let's move to item 24, future agenda items. This is the opportunity to discuss with our city manager about items that came up tonight in the meeting that we'd like to have brought back to the council at a later date. Is there any item from the council? Hearing none. All right. Then we'll go on to reports and communications. Following reports, communications are a way to provide council information. No action can be taken on these items unless council agrees to include it on a subsequent agenda. Ms. Langley, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. So we have a council goal-setting workshop next Wednesday, the 29th. Starts at 8 a.m. It's at the Veterans Hall. As part of that workshop, the department heads are going to be presenting budget reduction scenarios for council's consideration. And those include 5% and 10% reduction scenarios and the corresponding changes in service that we would expect to be able to provide to the public. And the other thing is good news. Habitat for Humanity has received an extension from HCD for Merrimack Village, and it's a a realistic extension, they think. So the new deadline for construction and expenditures completion would be October of 2026 with occupancy in 2027. So they are having their contractor update their schedule to reflect that date. They have identified some gap funding options, but they're going to provide a bond for that. And so we're now working through the checklist of items that they need to meet to comply with the agreement that we have with them. But it's great news that they have the extension from HCD. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Langley. We'll go to council reports. Councilmember Cole.
Okay, so I've not officially attended the meetings yet, but I wanted to just say thanks for the consideration and thought that you put in consideration of our schedules. So I'm really grateful and happy about the committees that I was assigned to. And then the only other thing is tomorrow I get to attend my first conference, and it's the League of California Cities. So that's a 3-dayer, and I'm sure I'll be filled with lots of knowledge.
All righty, thank you. Councilmember Kirchner.
Thank you, Mayor. It's customary this time of year. Some of our committees and commissions are canceled. So Sabufka was canceled. Gilsheiser was canceled. I was honored to attend the Yuba City PD annual award ceremony. Saw some very deserving people getting awards. So thank you for that. Regional Water Authority, we had a very long election of officers. And in addition to that, they recapped of what was what's happening moving forward in 2025. Mosquito, again, this time of year we have election of officers, quarterly review of defined benefit plan investments, and it's kind of quiet this time of year, so not much action there. Transit, we had 2 meetings in the last since I last been here. Lots of stuff going on. First of all, if those of you are familiar with the Benny Junction project, $178 million Caltrans project, about a mile worth of road in Marysville in front of the Marysville Hotel, Marysville High School, which when they get started, or really get started with this, it's going to displace a certain amount of their operations at Transit. So as of right now, Caltrans is negotiating with the Yuba County at the airport to house some of their facilities so they can move forward with that. We also voted on a new wrap for the buses, which is considered vehicle branding. They figured it was, 30 years since they did it last? 35, so expect a rollout for that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. One last thing. They extended my chairmanship for Transit, and they also extended the vice chair for Supervisor Baines. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Squally.
Thank you, Mayor. As alternate for the countywide RDA Oversight Board for mayor, we just went over just basic payments of what's going to happen with the money to be paid off. That's money that is due, and that's about majority of the whole meeting was, which was we had about an 8-minute meeting, I think. It went very fast. I'm looking forward to our goal setting on the 29th. The only thing I'm not happy about is I'm going to miss Waffle Wednesday. Unless we can get it open at about 7:30. I know they keep pressing you earlier and earlier, but no.
Manny said he'll make deliveries.
And also attended the Yuba City PD Awards, which was very well attended. They're a really tight-knit group of individuals. Acting Chief Runyon, you got a good group of people. Hopefully we can keep them all together. So with that, end of my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had the opportunity to attend a Sikh community meeting with Assemblyman Gallagher, representatives from Congressman LaMalfa, Senator Megan Daly, and Supervisor Baines. It was interesting. It was a bit of a hot seat as far as demands in a very positive way. 2 takeaways. There is energy around healthcare in the Yuba City, Sutter County area, improving access to and so that folks don't have to travel. The other was, interestingly enough, we've heard this up here before too, is access to a four-year college, and not just one, via Zoom or something like that, but an actual campus. I was able to say that those two things aren't under the purveyance of the city council. However, as a council, we have at least historically talked about our support for any efforts that helps bring quality health care to our community as well as education. Attended LAFCO. Mr. Levy is doing a great job as our executive director. We've got a municipal fire service review that's ongoing. We have a couple of upcoming annexations. We had some tonight, actually, so that are moving forward. And I get the honor of chairing LAFCO for another year, which is good. I went with the mayor, we presented to the Chamber Board of Directors in regards to the latest and the greatest in Yuba City. Very good group of individuals who had lots of interest. I'll let you cover more of that one since I've got plenty here. Attended 2 SACOG meetings. Sean Harris has left SACOG after about a 6-year run, and so I'm trying to fill his shoes up there. And there's quite a robust work program for 2025. I did send items to the council. I'm not going to go over everything here, but there'll be a lot more to come. In fact, the executive director is coming up in another week and to ride around with Supervisor Baines and myself to see what's going on in Yuba City. Attended regional housing authority meetings, nothing of note there, mostly administrative. And we'll be participating in the point in time count on this coming Monday, where we go out and I know former council member Cardozo is also involved with this. There may be others in the room that I'm not aware of. This is where annually we go out and interview our homeless and get a little bit more information and get data. I'll leave you with this, especially after the talk about Measure D. And I captured this from someone, so this isn't a Mark Baumgarten quote, but I felt it was appropriate, is that city government is the level of government that has the most impact on people's quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will keep mine really brief. A lot of the time since we've been at the last meeting to this one has been the holidays, and then we've been at our ranch preparing for what we have to do in the winter to get ready for spring. But I hit the ground running when I got back. Lots and lots of meetings going on right now in anticipation of the 29th strategic planning session. That meeting is open to the public, but it has a little different flair. It's not for viewing more or less, but not participation. We'll have public comment at the beginning. And then it is really designed for a lot of information to come from our E-team, our managers, to the council and have those critical type discussions so that we can begin taking the actions that we need to do as policymakers. So that is on the 29th. Had the RWMA meeting. I was elected to the chair this year. I'm sure there'll be more and more coming in the future about RWMA. Transit, I was not going to let you forget that we anointed you for another year, sir. But there's one other thing that is changing with transit, and we'll make sure the word gets out, and that is the microtransit with the last mile traveled. We actually talked to Mr. Mock at the meeting and asked him to come over and go to the Senior Citizens Center and do some outreach there. Rest assured, I think it's Dial-A-Ride, right? Wasn't it on bingo? It's going to keep those hours at bingo. We went ahead and overrode that and said, nope, that bingo night, make sure people can get there and get home. So that will continue. And the fixed routes and such in Yuba City are going to stay because they're going to change the microtransit out to the Olivehurst, Linda area for last mile traveled. And so there'll be no impact right now to Yuba City. Going back to the Chamber Board, don't want to close on a solemn note, but this is a reality of where we're at. If you read my comments in the appeal a few weeks ago, they asked us what was the latest and greatest that people had to expect, from Yuba City. They got us in and said, hey, let's go. We're going to continue doing the things that we've already got in motion. We've got a park that we're doing on Pluma Street. We're going to finish that. We're going to get the lights up over Center Street. You've got housing projects that are in the process of being built. You got retail that's being in the process of being built. You've got the Bogue Road project that we talked about earlier. All of those things are going to continue forward. But with what we're faced with, and Ms. Langley addressed it earlier, let it sink in just a little bit. We've asked our E-team to bring 5 and 10% reduction proposals forward. That's going to have an impact on the services that our citizens get. And I will stand here and tell you till I'm blue in the face that I am not, as one of 5 on this council, going to look at our team members. We have 316-ish members on our team at the city and say, I want you to do more with less. I was told that when I was in the military in the late 80s, early 90s. I know that it's rang through with the city. Ladies and gentlemen, just like I told the chamber, we're going to do the best we can with what we have. And that's going to mean some things are going to change. So we've got some definitely some good things ahead of us. I don't want to sound like gloom and doom because we have 2 ways of approaching this. And I'm going to share this again on the 29th. But if you think about it, we're in a tunnel and you see a light. You got 2 choices. You can figure that's a freight train that's about to run you over, or that's the exit to the tunnel, and you control that. I choose to look at it, I want to find an exit. And I think that's what my colleagues up here as well want to try to do. So it's not all gloom and doom. I just want to be real. There will be some service changes that's coming. And so if you are inclined, come be a part on the 29th. Listen, get informed. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have work ahead of us. And with that, we will close tonight's meeting. And we're going to close tonight in memory of Kathy Jordan, who was the wife of former council member Manny Cardoza. And I know that you have to be missing her and hurting her, as well as the rest of the family. Know that our thoughts and prayers are with all of you. And we want to honor her tonight by closing in her honor. So with that, we will stand adjourned.